It looked like somebody was bent over and had their head in the window of the deer blind. It either heard me or smelt me, and he pulled his head out of the tent and stood straight up, and that shocked me. They don't make people that big.
The way it moved, almost as if it was gliding across the beach. I've never seen anything move like that in my life. They were screaming at each other in gibberish. It sounded like a language, and they were chuntering away back and forwards, back and forwards, back and forwards. I know what a bear looks like, and there is no way on this planet that what I saw were bears.
What are you reporting?
Jesus Christ, you better...
Sir?
Gia!
Hello?
Get somebody out here.
What's going on now, sir?
That son of a bitch is about 6'9", I don't know.
Do you see him now, sir?
Yes, I'm looking right at him.
Uh-oh.
Hi, this is Drew Pliska, and you're listening to Sasquatch Chronicles.
Welcome to the show, everyone. Thanks for being here tonight. Got a great show planned for you. Tonight, we're going to be chatting with Mark. And Mark comes to us from Michigan. And back in 1989, he had a pretty scary encounter while bow hunting. And then over 31 years later, he actually had another incident happen to him kind of in the same area. And Mark's kind of an old school hunter, just from talking to him. I don't see him ever giving up hunting, but I really do appreciate the fact that he would come on and share what happened to him. If you've had an encounter and you'd like to be on the show, shoot me an email. My email address is wes@sasquatchchronicles.com. And if you get a chance, check out sasquatchchronicles.com. You can become a member and get additional shows. Let's jump into it tonight. I want to welcome Mark to the show. Mark, thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Yeah, I appreciate you being here, Mark. And you had a pretty scary encounter back in 1989 out there in Michigan, and I'll let you go into it. Obviously, you were hunting, but would you start from the very beginning? Kind of tell us what you were doing and walk us into what happened.
Yeah, me and my buddy were getting ready to go for bow hunting. It was October 1st. So he come pick me up, and it was about 4 o'clock. And it takes about a half an hour, a little bit longer than that to get to where we were going. We're going to Walhalla, Michigan, and that's east of London where I live. And so we get out there and we get our stuff, we get out of the truck and stuff, and get all our supplies. And we were taking out some bait to put down our food plot at that time, where we were allowed to feed the deer at that time. And so we got out of the truck, and then we started walking over where we had to go to where our tree stands were. Well, we were parked on the north side of these railroad tracks, and our blinds were on the south side. So we started walking through the woods there, and we got to the railroad tracks, and we went upside these. The way these railroad tracks are designed, they're built up on these big berm, and they were underneath a bunch of this white gravel stuff. They built it up higher than what the forest was. So we got up on the very top there, and I'm waiting for my buddy to get up behind me. He gets to the top, and then we get ready to go on the other side, and then we hear gravel and stuff in front of us. I'm going, what the hell is that? So we look, and there was a full moon and stuff, and it was in back of us, and we could see whatever the hell it was walking up the side of the gravel, and it got to the very top of the rail tracks, and the thing was huge. I'm talking massive. And it was right next to one of the railroad signs, and the railroad signs were 10 foot, and its head stuck over probably a good half foot over these railroad tracks. I'm going, Jeff, I go, what the hell is that? He goes, I don't know. He goes, is that another hunter? I said, I don't know. I didn't see no lights or no trucks coming in. So we're sitting there, and this thing's staring at us. We're staring at it. So I told Jeff, I said, well, let me walk down on the other side here, on the south side, and see what it does. So I walked down off the top of the railroad tracks onto the south side there, and it followed me down, and it stood, even with me where I was at, and the thing was still huge. And it just stood there and looked at us, and it was about 40 yards. I'm going to say 45 yards when it came up where it was on the side of the railroad tracks or the thing, and it came down to where I was at. And that's about the distance where we were, and I couldn't see it very good. I mean, I could see the silhouette of the thing and everything. So I walked back up on top of the railroad track where my buddy was, and it came back up again, and it stood there in the middle of the railroad track where we were. I'm saying, what the hell is this thing? My buddy goes, is that a hunter? I said, that's too big to be a man, dude. I said, it's not a bear. So we know what bears look like. So I said, shine your flashlight down there. So he shined his flashlight down there. At that time, he had one of those big police issued, because his mom was a cop. She had one of those big police issued 7D mag flashlights. And he shined it down there, and he shined it on the whatever it was. And the thing just sucked it up like it was a sponge. You could see the silhouette of it, but the hair on this thing just sucked it up. He shined it up by the face, and that's when he raised his hand. And that's when we seen his first hit was his left hand. He raised it up. And the hand on this thing was freaking huge. And I mean, Shaquille O'Neal is a big man. This thing dwarfed him. I mean, this thing could have palmed a beach ball. Thing was massive. I'm talking huge freaking hand. And then he turned the light off. He goes, what the hell is that? I said, I don't know, Jeff. So I said, turn the flashlight off. So he turned the flashlight off, and we still could see it standing there. And then it started walking towards us closer. And then we're sitting there shaking. I said, I'm going to go back down and see if he follows me down again. He goes, okay. So I went back down there again, and he didn't follow me. He kept walking towards my buddy, and then he stopped. And at that time, I say he was probably, I'm going to say 27 yards, at least 27 yards, because I'm pretty good at distance, because I'm a traditional bow hunter. I say about 27 yards he was at. We could see him really good. He had big legs, big hips, chest kind of tapered up. The head just was right, even with his shoulders. He had a round head. He didn't have a pointy head or nothing, but the shoulders wide. 4x8 sheet wouldn't even work for this guy. This thing was huge. And the hands and the arms were very long, but he never put his hands straight down. He always had them like midway. Like he was, I don't know. He just was sitting there looking at us. And I said, Jeff. He goes, what? Then I said, Jeff, what do you want to do? He goes, let's go back. I go, we can't get back to the truck, dude. I go, this thing can catch us. I said, our tree stands are only 40 yards. I said, let's just run for the tree stands. Just leave everything here, the heavy stuff, and grab your bow. I said, let's get to the tree stand. So I said, come on down. And then I heard a sound. I go, what? I looked up, and my buddy's he's peeing himself. I can hear it hitting the rocks and stuff. And I looked down on myself, and I already soaked myself. I go, Jeff, we got to get to the tree stands. I said, run. So finally, he saw him down off the side there. And we ran for the tree stands. I was going to go for mine, but mine was further back in. And I knew I couldn't make it to mine. there's no way in hell. I was at that time I was about 300 pounds, but I outran this guy, and he was 160 pounds soaking wet. And I made it to the tree stand before he did. And I was the first one up. We got up in his ladder stand. So we got all the way up there, dropped his bow. So I'm up there with my bow. His is on the ground. He gets up there in the ladder stand with me. We're up there shaking like we're freezing to death. We can hear this thing coming off the railroad track because it was breaking down off the gravel and stuff. We could hear it running, plain as day. And from where we were at in our tree stand, he was about, because he had to go around, he ran around furthest point of this swamp. We had this swamp in front of us. We call it a swamp. It's just a big gully, and it's got a lot of cedars and wetlands in it, so we call it a swamp. But anyways, we heard it running the ridge of that damn thing. Then he came down through there. Then he started making a bunch of noise. And then off to the right of us, towards the river, which was in the south of us, we heard something else making some crazy ass noises. And it's that one started coming towards us. And then all hell broke loose. I mean, like something was going down there fighting. I mean, it sounded like two T-Rexes going at it. Branches were snapping. You could hear hollering and just growling and shit. And then a couple seconds later, you could hear something running off, and it jumped into the river. Then everything got quiet. And we're still sitting up there shaking and stuff, and it's still dark. And we sat there we got off that railroad tracks, I'm going to say probably about 4, damn near 5, it was almost 5 o'clock. We sat there for about 15, 20 minutes sitting there doing the stuff with this thing on the railroad track. And we waited till it got late, and it was about 8 o'clock to where we could actually see pretty good in the woods. And then we got down. We had enough nerve to get down and got to his truck, and then we got the hell out of there.
And I know that you're an outdoorsman. I know that you're a hunter and you've been hunting your whole life. Just from talking to you, Mark, and bow hunting is kind of your passion. When you guys were on the tracks, what did you think it was? Did you think it was a man?
No, I didn't think it was a man. I really didn't. I thought it was, I don't know what the hell I really thought it was. It kind of looked like a silverback gorilla with a long body, but I knew there was no chance of hell, and that's what it was. I really couldn't tell you what it was, but I thought it was. I knew it wasn't a man, and I knew it wasn't a bear. There was no way in hell it was a bear. The way it walked towards us and the way it was moving, and then as soon as I seen the hand, I said, no, that ain't bear. I've seen bear. I've seen grizzlies, I've seen Kodiaks, I've seen black bear.
Yeah, I hear you. When it was walking towards you guys, was it making any sort of noise or vocalizations, or was it pretty much quiet as it was approaching you?
It was all silent. And when he shined the flashlight on this thing, I said, bring it up a little higher. And he brought it up towards his face. And that's when he brought his hand up. But you could see his shoulders kind of picking up like it was breathing hard. You could see going, but you couldn't hear nothing, but you could see it breathing. And its shoulders kept picking up when it was breathing.
Yeah, that's terrifying. And there is a lot of reports of these creatures around railroads. A lot of train conductors and people who work on the railroads, they run into them a lot. But you guys are hunting. You're kind of in the open. It's terrifying. This thing's approaching you. When you hit it with the mag light on its face and it put up its hand, I would imagine it was just trying to block the light from its eyes.
That's what I think it was doing. Because that flashlight was pretty bright.
Yeah, and Stacy Brown and his father, both those guys actually got footage out there in Florida of one of these creatures going from tree to tree, and it's on FLIR. And if you really look at the creature, it has huge hands. It looks like it's wearing a catcher's glove. Its hands are so big. But you were mentioning as it was coming towards you, it never put its arms all the way down to its sides. What was it doing with its arms and its hands as it was approaching you?
It was kind of like keeping it at mid-height, but like by his belly. and he was just standing there. He rocked a little bit side to side, not much, but he just stood there, and it kind of like his shoulders were rocking a little bit, and that was it. But he kept his hands like his right hand was towards his mid chest, and then his left one was kind of up a little higher.
Oh, I see. Yeah, I wanted to ask you before we get to the tree stand. And what I'm going to ask you, I know it's just an opinion you don't really know, and I don't really know. I'm curious, though, being there, what do you think the intent was, or what was kind of your feeling as far as its intention?
I think he was curious what the hell we were doing there so early. I don't know, maybe. I don't know. I mean, he didn't, like he was angry that we were there or nothing. Because as soon as we ran, my buddy got off the top of the railroad tracks and then we ran. He didn't even move. He just stood there. Because I looked back at one time and he was just standing there watching us run through the woods. And then by the time we were in the thick of the woods, I couldn't see him no more, of course. And then that's when we heard him run down through the other side of the swamp there on the top of the ridge. And then we heard him come down. Then we heard this other thing come out from the side by the river. So I have no idea what the hell that thing was. I don't know if that was another Sasquatch. That was something, because we could hear it running.
Yeah, I was kind of curious about that portion. So you guys are in the tree stand and you hear something vocalize and then all hell breaks loose. Sounds like T-Rexes are going off, breaking trees, and a fight erupts. Right before all of that happened, what was the vocalization that you heard before all hell broke loose?
The one was more canine. It was like a souped up coyote, like on roids. It was massive though. And I mean, you put a mixture between I don't know if you ever heard a Wolverine growl. It was between a Wolverine, a wolf, a coyote, and a fox, but amped up big time. And it was pissed, whatever it was. And then when this thing got down to the other thing, all hell broke loose. And I'm talking, you could hear trees snapping and shit. Something was going at it. I don't know what the hell it was. I don't know if that thing knew that thing was down there and it was trying to protect us, or I don't know what the hell. That's kind of what I thought later on in the week there when I was thinking about it. I go, well, maybe he was trying to warn us that this thing was down there. I don't know.
Yeah, that's very strange. Makes you wonder what the fight was about. I mean, because earlier you guys are on the train tracks, and if he wanted to harm you, he would have. It would have been a perfect opportunity.
No, he had it. He had us at dead rights. I mean, I had a longbow. My buddy had a recurve. We were dead meat. We were barbecue. I mean, like I said, I mean, it was at least 27 yards. He was 27 yards. I'd say less than that, probably 25. I mean, yeah, we were done.
Yeah, and I know this happened over 31 years ago, and you're really face to face with this creature, and it doesn't really matter when you had an encounter; it'll always stay with you throughout your whole life. I want to ask you: so you're 25 to 30 yards away from this thing, and you're looking at it. Is there one thing physically that kind of stands out to you?
Well, the way the hair came down on his head a little bit was kind of weird. It kind of like almost looked like he had a bowl cut. I don't know, maybe not a bowl cut. It's kind of, I don't know, it's hard to say. But his face was really tapered like a Native American. His chin was wide, but I couldn't see his freaking eyes, and I couldn't get that. I knew they were probably sunk back in, but we didn't get no eye reflection, nothing.
Yeah, and that's kind of the weird part. Some eyewitnesses will describe seeing eye shine, like a deer. Other eyewitnesses will describe seeing eyes glowing, something very unnatural. And then other times, people can't see their eyes, kind of like the situation you were in, Mark. I realize all of this happened in 1989, but did you guys ever go back to that location?
I haven't been back to that place since last year. And well, same area. I went camping last year for bow season. My brother was out there with me. He was out small game hunting. And, well, I might as well tell you this story. We were out there camping and stuff. And I was, like I said, I was out there bow hunting. So during the evening, everything was good. And I got my one tree stand put up and stuff. And we all went to bed. And about 4 o'clock in the morning again, my brother goes, Mark. I said, what? He goes, something's walking around the tent. I said, get your flat. I said, you got your shotgun, right? I said, is it loaded? He goes, yeah, it's loaded. I said, make sure it's loaded, because I was sleeping in a hammock at the time. So I stuck my head out from my hammock there, and I was lifting up my rain fly to see if I could see anything. I couldn't see nothing. And then about 2 seconds later, I heard something walking on the other side of my tent where my brother was staying. You could hear the foot. Then it stopped. I go, he's right behind you, ain't he? He goes, yeah. I said, get out of your tent. I said, bring that goddamn shotgun out. And we had lanterns going, so we had, a little bit of light and everything. And as soon as my brother got out of that cot, he heard that shotgun lock and load, man. You could hear it going, just took it off, went to that swamp, to the big swamp. And then we went out there the next morning. I didn't even go hunting that morning. I said, let's look for tracks. And we couldn't find nothing, But I looked for about 3 hours, and I couldn't even find a track. I looked on the whole ridge of that swamp on the west side, and I couldn't see nothing.
Yeah, it's strange. We hear this type of encounter a lot. A lot of hunters, hikers, campers. Obviously, it wasn't a man because, most people don't go doing this in the middle of the night. But if you don't believe in Sasquatch, then a man went through your camp. I realize it wasn't a man, but what other conclusion can he come to? You know what I mean?
No, they're in these up north here in Michigan. You don't mess with people's camps. You're going to get shot at. I'll guarantee it. And these boys up here don't mess around.
Yeah, and this was really recent, wasn't it, Mark? You said it was what, last year?
Yeah, this was just last year.
Yeah, before we talk about the incident that happened with you and your son out there, I want to ask you, does it concern you at all, being a hunter? 31 years ago, you saw these creatures, back in 1989, you ran into them. So you know that they're real. I know that they're real. Does it concern you being a bow hunter and continuing to go out in the woods?
No, it don't. It don't bug me. I'm not going to give it this thing up I do that I love. I won't. I don't care what it is. I won't give it up. I mean, yeah, they own the woods. That's cool. Whatever, they can share it. I'm not out there trying to cut their trees down or, take their forest away from them. I'm just out there trying to, put a meat on the table for my family too. So.
And I respect that. I want to talk about the last two incidences that happened to you when you were out there. Tell me about the situation that you and your son found yourself in.
This took place probably about, I'm going to say, as the crow flies, about 15 miles to the east. This was in Branch Township. There's Walhalla, then there's Branch Township. And we're on the river there in Branch. And it's still same river, PM River. And then we were swimming down there and stuff. We were having a little cookout and stuff. So my son was down in the river swimming, of course, and I was up there tending to the fire and everything. And I kind of glanced over, and I thought I'd seen a set of legs on the other side of the river. I'm going, what the hell was that? So I kind of kept looking, and I kept feeding the fire up and stuff. And then I seen it again. It was another 15 feet down. And it was getting closer to my son. And then I seen it was another set of legs. And this time I could see plain as day. It was legs. It was only two set of legs. I go, Max, get the hell out of the river. He goes, what? I said, get out of the river now. So he come out of the river, come up on the bank. He got up by the fire, and he goes, "What's wrong, Dad?" I said, "There's something over there on that side of the river." I said, "I don't know what the hell it is. I don't know if it's a bear or not, but I don't think it is." So we're both looking. We can't see nothing. And then all of a sudden, we hear a snap. And then I go, whoop, just for shits and giggles, I had the vehicle right there next to us. We had to get out of Dodge quick. Didn't hear nothing. So it started walking again. We could hear it walking. I can't see it again. And then it got up further up on the ridge below, where the river was at. And then I said, I don't know. I don't know what the hell that is. So we sat there for a little bit. We didn't hear nothing. So he went back into the river, splashing around. And I put some hot dogs on the grill and stuff. And I went in there, dinked around with him for a little bit. And then I heard a big crunch again. And then I heard a whoop. I said, get up on the bank now. So he got up by the fire pit. I said, just wait. And I'm still standing in the river, and I'm looking, and I can hear it walking around, but I can't see it. And I seen one shut. Finally, I seen us where the sun was coming down because it was getting dark towards that time. And I seen up on the ridge, I could see a set of legs walking, plain as day, big strides. So I got up out of the river. I said, that's enough for me. I already know what that is. So I got up by the fire pit by him. I said, just stay here. And then we waited for about another 45 minutes, and it was quiet again. So I don't know. That was really weird too.
Yeah, it's hard enough to have an encounter, with as adults, but when your children are nearby, it adds a whole nother element to it. When you guys were seeing this thing up there walking on the hillside, you couldn't see the rest of it. You can only see the legs.
No, I could see from his heels, because you could see his feet when he lifted up. You could see feet, but it went from there to about the cheek of his ass, his lower cheek of his ass, and that was about it. Because the way the foliage, it grew up on the side of this river.
Yeah, and this is 31 years later after you had that encounter. You're out there now with your son. This is going on. I would imagine, kind of what's going through your mind at this moment? I would imagine your brain's probably just racing.
Oh, yeah. I grabbed my pig sticker. I had my big Bowie knife and everything. And for some oddball reason, I had one of my old ice fishing spears. I grabbed that goddamn thing. I said, get out of the river. So I grabbed what I could, what I had with me. I said, get the hell out of the river. And he got out of the river. He knew I was serious. And I said, just stay here by the fire. So I don't know. It freaked me out. I had flashbacks, but as soon as I seen, like I said, when I seen it walking and I seen the legs lifting up and then I seen the heel of the foot and everything, I knew what it was.
Yeah, it's amazing how quickly we remember. Even if you don't think about your encounter every day, there's moments in life to where it'll take you right back there, and it does affect people. It's some people are terrified to go in the woods. It does affect people. It's almost like a weird form of PTSD.
I get jitters as soon as I get out of that vehicle. I get this like rotten gut feeling in my stomach every time. But I'm not gonna stop hunting. I can't. I won't stop hunting. I don't care. Whatever. If it happens, it happens. He's gonna feel something come back though. I'm guaranteeing that.
Yeah, like I said, that encounter in 1989, it'll probably always be in the back of your head,
Yeah, it'll never leave my mind. I'll be there. It'll be there rest until I die.
I know all of this recent stuff happened in 2020. Tell me about the very last incident that happened to you. I'm probably the most fascinated by this behavior. When did this happen?
That was just last year. That was 20. Last year was 20. I was out hunting again, and I was in my ground blind, and I had my crossbow that time. So I had 3 does come in. I passed them up because they kept looking back, so I figured there was a buck following them, which there was. Nice buck. It was a 10-point. And he come to my side, and I blasted him. And he took off, and I had a tracking string on. I know it's kind of silly. It was raining that day, so I said, what the hell? I'm going to put my tracking string on my crossbow because I know it's going to be a pain in the ass because it was raining hard. So I shot it, and tracking string took off. I sat there, and finally the string stopped. I said, well, maybe it crashed. I couldn't hear it because it was raining so hard, and you can't hear nothing in those blinds anyways when it's downpouring. So I sat there, and I gave it another half an hour. String hasn't moved, so I got out, and I started tracking it, and it ran, I don't know, probably about 100 yards in front of the ground blind, and then it shot up, and then it went up through this 2-track where everybody walks because it's a public thing. It's right here connected to the Livingston State Park. If you go up on top of these dunes, you can see Lake Michigan. I don't know if everybody's seen Lake Michigan. Freaking huge. One of the biggest lakes in the world. So anyways, I'm walking and I'm tracking the string. And it's going along pretty good. So I called my son up. He was still sleeping at the time. I said, hey, man, you got to help me drag this deer. Just shot a big buck. So I waited about an hour, and then he found me where I was at. We started tracking it, the string, and then we got another probably about 60 yards, and all of a sudden, the string shot up towards the trees. And I'm going, huh? I go, this don't happen. Why is the string going up? And it went up probably 15 feet in the air, and then it shot across to another tree. Then it shot off to another tree. Then it went off to another tree and to another tree. And at that time, there was sand dunes because it was like in this holler, like this gully and stuff. And at the very end of where I hunt is all sand dunes. These sand dunes are like 60 feet up in the air, dude. They're huge because that's part of Lake Michigan, you know. And it went even with the sand dunes. I'm going, okay, this is kind of freaking weird. So I sent my son up there because at that time I blew my knee out and I couldn't get up there all the way. And he tracked it for about half an hour, and he goes, oh yeah, I see blood and everything. We had walkie-talkies and everything. And I kept thinking about why that shot up in the tree. It should be on the ground, the string. I said, Max, come on back down. So finally, about 45 minutes later, I lost radio contact with him on my radios, my TVs. So I started getting all freaking paranoid. And finally, he come down on the ridge. He says, well, Dad, I got to go back to work. I said, okay, go back to work then. So he went to work. So I gave it about 2 hours, and then I went back out, and I'm trying to figure this out. And I'm going, what the hell's going on here? So I crippled my butt up to the top of these sand dunes. Finally, it took me about 45 minutes to get up there. And I'm walking along. Then I find a leg, one of the back legs of this deer, right side. And I go along a little bit further, front left side. And I see more blood. And then I see more blood. And I see part of the guts. And as soon as I seen the guts, I said, yeah, I'm done. Because I know something impaled this deer. It wasn't my broadhead. Because there was, intestines, a little bit of intestines hanging out. I saw probably, maybe a quart-sized jug of intestines. So I know it wasn't my broadhead doing this. I said, no, I'm done. I already know what the hell this is. And so I started walking back down. And then I hear this big growl again. I was all the way down to where it first started shooting up towards the sand dunes. And I seen something darting up to the top, and I'm looking, and I see this black thing. And on the other side of this other thing, I seen this blackish gray thing. And then all I heard is just a whop. Like somebody got bitch slapped. and I see this thing rolling down the hill, and then I heard it scuffer off, and then I'm looking, and I see it kind of like he turned to his left, kind of looked down the hill towards me, and then it just started walking off. I said, "Yep, I'm out of here. I'm done."
Strange. Yeah, I would have been done too. Was there a shape to them? When you say you saw a black thing and you saw a gray thing, can you define that or explain that a little bit better?
The black thing was wide, real wide at the shoulders, wide tapered down. I couldn't see it towards its lower back or nothing. The thing up on the top was it was really kind of rickety. You know, it kind of looked emaciated. It was like somebody on meth. I mean, it wasn't to the point of rickets, you know what I mean? But it was bigger mass than a human.
Yeah, and I think I know what you mean, Mark. I mean, it's bigger than you are, but it doesn't look like it's living well.
Yeah, it was big in stature, but it wasn't. And these things, well, like I said, when I looked up there, I seen an arm come right out, and this is when I seen this thing rolling back. So I don't know if this thing socked this other thing. That other thing come rolling down, hell bent for election. So I'm assuming this other thing on top slapped the hell out of it, and it come rolling down, crashing hard. I said, "Yep, I'm done."
Yeah, it makes me wonder what was going on there. Were they just fighting over food, or it's weird? You know what I mean?
I think it was probably a Bigfoot, maybe another Bigfoot. I don't know. Maybe it was another dog man. I don't know. Oddball thing, though. Week later, I see a bunch of helicopters over here, and they had that whole freaking road blocked off.
Very strange.
Yeah, they had that whole freaking road blocked off. I was going in to pull my ground blind out of there. They wouldn't even let me through. And a week later, they kept driving by my house, flying over my house.
Makes you wonder why.
Oh, I know why. You know why.
Yeah, but you didn't. I'll tell you this. This is my opinion, and I can tell you why I think this way. I don't really want to go into it, but I can tell you why I think I know this. They don't really, as far as who's ever covering this up, and I do believe that someone's covering it up. I don't think that they care so much about what you said you saw. What they care about is what you can prove. And you didn't really take anything from this. It was just something you witnessed.
All my trail camera pictures, all the CD or the chips were gone. I had 7 of them out there, and all the chips were gone.
Yeah, that's strange. That's very, very strange. And I'm sure they're following some sort of protocol. Why do you think that they're covering it up, Mark?
They don't want to have to pay probably. I think it's a lot to do with the land. I honestly do. Because if these things are known to be real, which they are real, there's going to be a lot of protection, you know? They're going to have to put protection on them. And I think there's going to be a lot of goddamn loggers pissed off. A lot of, landowners are trying to lease stuff, for certain things. But I don't know, man. The government can do what they want. So, I mean, you know that, and I know that.
Yeah, I hear you. And you could be right. I have a follow-up question for you on that. Before I ask you that, so what do you think that these creatures are, Mark? Do you think that it's an animal we haven't caught up with?
No, they're like us. I think they're a primate. I think they're just, I don't know. How can I explain it? I know everybody goes all biblical and stuff. And after listening to so many of your theories and stuff about what is it? Help me out here.
The Nephilim?
Yeah, the Nephilims. I could see that, but this thing I was looking at, dude, and you've seen them too, so it was all there. I mean, I couldn't see through it. It was there. I'm just thinking they're part of. I don't know. It's hard to explain. I don't know if they're like like the native, they were here before the natives, and they just existed, and they keep existing. They keep breeding. They're a master at their own thing, obviously. They keep finding animals all the time, but everybody always says that, too. Now, whatever. But I think these things have been around for centuries, probably hundreds of thousands of years. Who knows? Shit, they've been around maybe even after the T-Rexes, all those guys go. I don't know, man. It's hard to explain. But all I know, they're built like a man. They're shaped like a man. They don't look as good as men, so they're not that pretty, but all I know, they're built for damage. Like I said, when I seen his body and his freaking hands, it would have took seconds for him to tear us apart. Seconds. Grizzly bear's hand paired to this thing's hand, 1,200-pound, 1,500-pound grizzly bear. He would have got smoked. He would have been done.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you, Mark. That's for sure. Let me ask you a follow-up question I wanted to ask you earlier. And whenever I ask this, I think people think I'm asking it in an argumentative way, and I'm really not. It's because I don't have a great answer for this question. And I just want people to think about this topic in a bigger scale. I think as Americans, we think of, and I hate to say this, but we think of the world as North America, specifically the United States. That's the world. And we tend not to look at other countries. And there's a reason for that. In America, you want to go play in the desert, we got it. You want to go play in the tropics, go for a swim, we got it. You want to go run around in the rainforest, you want to go climb mountains, whatever landscape you want, we have it. And so, another reason why most of us don't travel the world, because we have everything here that we would ever want. But having said that, let me ask you, all over the world, this creature is seen. Down in Australia, they have the yowies. And if you read a lot of the reports from eyewitnesses, it sounds like America. It sounds like Americans talking about Bigfoot. Same thing with Russia. Same thing with, even over in Iran. They have the Barmanu, and he lives up in the mountains, and he comes down, he steals livestock, scares women and children. They hate this creature, and it's called the Barmanu, but it's found all over the world. And when we think about Sasquatch here in the United States, we think about, well, they're covering it up for lumber. And my question to you, very sincere question, what do you make of it being seen all over the world, and this cover-up of lumber?
Well, in the other countries, I really don't know, because I don't live there. I don't know what the hell, what's all the problems in those countries. I mean, I know in our country, it's lumber. You look at the price of lumber right now, dude, it's skyrocketed. Now, that could be because of all this COVID stuff. I don't know. Who knows? I don't think so, though. I think maybe that's just another cover-up. Whatever. Who knows? I don't know. All they know, these damn things exist. They're real. They've been around a long time. All these people that make their claims, not everybody's lying. And then the people, when they just start talking about it, and they get their balls, like you say, balls busted. I mean, come on. What's the problem then? Why are you trying to cover it up?
I appreciate your feedback. It's one of those questions that always kind of bothers me, and I don't really have a great answer for it. I do think it's being covered up, but it's so hard to figure out what it is, and there's a million other questions. You know what I mean?
Maybe it's something to do with the Bible, and it's going to rewrite everything. Who knows? I don't know. I know religion is a big thing for everything. I don't know. Maybe you're right about the Nephilims. I don't know. I can see your point. I've watched all your videos. I've heard every one of them, probably 3 or 4 times, every episode. I don't know.
Yeah, I hear you. I really don't think that they're the Nephilim. I think that they're very different from the Nephilim. I just kind of want to make that clear, but it is strange, and it's so hard to, when you really start peeling the onion away, it gets weirder and weirder and weirder. And like I said, that question isn't meant to upset anyone. It's a question I can't answer, and it bothers me that I can't answer that. It makes you kind of stop and think. But I think a lot of people, you'll hear people go, well, how many do you think are in the United States? And they'll go, well, I think there's roughly 3,000. My question is, well, how many do you think are in Australia? How many do you think are in Russia? How many do you think are in China? Since we seem to know how many are in the United States, let's kind of look at this as a worldwide and gather some numbers. But it's very uncomfortable for people to talk about that. Let me ask you, if you had the opportunity to run into another one, would you want it? Would you want to run into another one?
Yeah, I do. I want to run into another one. I hope I got a big-ass gun, because if I do, I'm going to drop one. I mean, we need a body. What are you going to do with the body then? Because if anyone shoot one, then the government's going to come. And then what are you going to do? Oh, well, you're shit out of luck. Well, if you do this, now you're going to pay this consequences. You know what I mean? And they're just going to cover it up anyways. So you can't take it to nobody that's not going to, you're kind of screwed either way.
Be careful doing that. Be careful definitely doing that. And it sucks because there's no warning before you go out there. People run into these things and then it affects them for the rest of their life.
My buddy, he hasn't hunted since then. He gave up hunting completely. This guy was a freaking fanatic. He had like 30 shotguns he used to goose hunt with. He's done. He don't even hunt no more.
And are you talking about your friend from 1989 that encountered that creature with you?
Yeah.
It's tragic. It's very tragic. But I appreciate you taking the time, Mark, to come on the show and share a portion of your life with us. Thank you so much for sharing your experience with us.
Yeah, no problem, man. It was good to talk to you. It was good to let off some steam and in my experience again, because it does help me a lot every time I do this. Because like I said, I live it every day. Every time I get up, sometime during the day, I think about that situation. It don't leave you.
Yeah, it'll definitely stay with you the rest of your life, that's for sure. Thanks again, Mark.
Yep, no problem.
And that's it for tonight, everyone. Remember, if you've had an encounter, shoot me an email. My email address is wes@sasquatchchronicles.com. If you get a chance, go check out sasquatchchronicles.com. You can become a member and get additional shows. Until next time, everyone.
About limitless infinite life. She is my thunder. No wonder I'm going under the intoxicating danger I like. Save me from myself, let me drown in my black lake. Let me float away. Save me from myself, let me drown in my black lake. Beauty is a black lake, let me sail away. epiphany, bring the shore to life. Save me from myself, let me drown.